Welcome back to the High Vibe Life podcast with me, Moira Casaba, and I am so thrilled and just kind of chilling today because I've got my buddy here, Dr. Chris Lee, in the house. You are tuning in from where in Florida again?
Naples, Florida.
Naples, Florida. And gosh, we have done so many things together, right? We have spoken at events together. You've been at my mastermind. I remember us doing like a lot of IG lives, but I have literally never had you on the podcast. How is that possible?
That's what I'm saying. And like, so before can I disclose what we talked about before we actually started talking?
Go for it. Yeah. We're just going to dig right in. Go for it.
Yeah. We're like, oh my gosh, we both had days and you just came from a podcast and I just gave a keynote and then had clients and a workshop, blah. We're both busy. And then we both get to a place, and this has to do with the science of it, where it's you and I don't have to do familiarities. We don't have to do the formalities of all of this. We're chilling, and there's just a comfort in being able to slow down and make the space to just breathe and talk with somebody and just have a discussion. And that was exactly what we were diving into of we just live so fast, and it's our responsibility to take control of that. Because that's on us.
Absolutely. I know. I thought it's so funny. We both came into the space where we're like, oh, thank God it's just you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I know
work,
you. Yeah.
But it's just you.
This is the greatest form. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And so why don't we start here? Because I know you've got such a powerful story that maybe not everybody knows. I know a lot of my audience knows Dr. Chris Lee. But who are you? What the heck do you do? And how'd you end up here? How about we start there? Then we can dig into some really fun stuff about the brain, of course.
Then we can get into the meat and potatoes of it. So my name is Chris. I work in the world of self-regulation. I am a scientist by training, and I am the type of doctor that you want to sit next to on the plane. But if you're ever on an airplane and somebody's like, is there a doctor on there? I am not that type of doctor. So I never thought that I would kind of be in this predicament, never thought that I'd be living this life. And yet here we are. So about 8 years ago now, which is crazy to talk about because I feel like I've known you now for 3. I think I've known you now for 3 years, which is wild to consider how time moves in that way.
No kidding.
Was in Atlanta completing my doctorate. I thought that I was going to finish up school and then go get a proper doctoral license and go do the things and the white picket fence and the 2.1 kids and the 1.5 dogs. And I don't know, maybe get a divorce when I'm 50s. That sounds like what all the cool kids are doing. I don't know, but I'm trying to figure it out in my early 20s. And life, universe, God just kind of put some changes in my life for better or for worse. And I can look at them now and truly say that it was for the better. And there was actually one of the things that I talked to the students about. I talked to a high school this morning, and the trials and tribulations that I was given, which I will often say is gifted to me, was in the midst of completing school. I got hit by a car and it destroyed my body. 2 weeks into that, I lost my dad to suicide, which destroyed about anything else that was left standing, except for my confidence and my ability to change, which got wrecked about a year later when my daughter was born, when I was in my early 20s, broken. There was a shell of a human being standing there. And I just remember being in that state and this can't be it. This this can't be the end. This can't be the way that this is supposed to be. This is just, I don't know. What did I do to deserve this? Why am I being punished? What is going on with all of these different things? And the space between being that version of me, and I can fully admit, I was scared to be that version of me. I really did not like life. I did not like waking up. There was no joy. There was no happiness. There was no anything. There was confusion. There was grief. There was anger. And then there had to be this pulled out nurturing for my daughter, who I was quickly a single parent. So I'm taking care of my 6-month-old daughter, trying to figure out how to do that with no parents around, grieving my dad, trying to finish up this doctorate, complete a residency, and all of those things. And there was just one thing that somebody told me, and I still continue to say it, is if the flower doesn't bloom, you don't blame the flower. And I just remember that thing rocking me to my core. And I'm like, it's the environment. And the environment had some bad things happen, some hard things happen, right? Because until you can get to the place where you can actually admit that there's no such thing as good or bad, right or wrong, it takes kind of like some self-awareness to get there. There is good and bad shit in your life, right? So I had some like bad shit, some hard shit going on. And I didn't know that it was for me at the time. So it was just hard. It was just bad. It was just brutal. And I felt punished by that thing. And then I started to dive deeper into the world of neuroscience. So I was kind of like in general study, like going to become science. And then I started to shift and direct it more towards, okay, I want answers. Like I want to know the science of these things. I want to know the science of the mind. And that turned into psychology. And then I was like, I don't really like psychology. And then I was like, okay, but the environment, it's the environment. That's the brain. What's going on in the nervous system? How is the nervous system dictating the narrative? Because once in a while, I had like an okay day. And I'm like, well, how? Why is that? Like, why are some days
Right.
better than others when they're seemingly all molded and merged together into this
Yeah.
semblance of like sameness? Like, what is it about those things? So I started to discover this world of self-regulation and that you can pull different behavioral levers and mental and emotional escapes to create a different lens for how you think, feel, and act in your everyday life. Because I'd always like wondered, well, what makes somebody successful? What makes somebody create the ability?
Mhm.
Like, why do some people have money and why are some people just flat broke? Like, if we're all this infinite cosmic stardust full of potential, why can some people actuate it and some people not? And
Yeah.
truly, I went into science trying to understand, well, why did my dad take that choice? And I don't want to
Right.
repeat it. So like, how did he get there? Like, what was the work that he was or was not doing? And then you stumble
Yeah.
across neuroplasticity. And neuroplasticity is the brain's ability to change due to environment. And I knew that the environment that I had created internally and externally was just a hall of mirrors, right? I was
Mm.
just saying that I'm a victim of this story. I'm never going to be able to change this. I can't do it. My daughter's going to be just, we're going to make it. We're going to be okay, but I don't really believe it. So what
Mhm.
I started to do is dive deeper into the research of like, okay, if anxiety and depression are what I'm experiencing in this yo-yoing, dysregulated, procrastinate, self-sabotage, low self-worth, don't accept the love you think you deserve, nobody's really got my back, I don't trust anyone. If I just for a second compartmentalize and say that that is information flowing through a specific area of the brain, creating like a movie-like projection of what life is
Mhm.
meant to be or how it's being experienced, if I put that information into a different area of my brain, do I get a different movie? Do I
Hmm.
feel differently? Can I experience all these things differently? And the answer to that was yes. So that's the thing that took me from, oh my gosh, I'm stealing coffee from hotel lobbies because I cannot afford it. And I'm eating canned sardines and black beans because my daughter has to have diapers and I have to somehow pay water bills and all of this other stuff until I figure it out, to starting a business in the midst of my doctorate. I set records inside of the clinic in neuroscience. Over and over, quarter after quarter, with my daughter in my backpack, like doing the thing.
Wow.
My company
I
made
love
its
that.
first $100,000 while I was in school, talking about leadership development. And I skipped my graduation because I was giving a keynote at the same time. And all of that happened within 18 months. And it
Wow.
wasn't by accident. I didn't grow up in a family crushing business by any means. My mom is a therapist and my dad was a carpenter who built movie sets. And my mom is like the most extraordinary woman ever. But so much of what this was turning trials and stress and going, okay, where I'm experiencing that resistance, that stress, that oh shit, it's not a punishment. And it's not like, oh my gosh, this is horrible because I'm a horrible person. It's a, well, what is this telling me about a blind spot, a
Right.
hole in the shield, something I haven't focused on? And at the start, if you are extremely self aware and you start to go take emotional and mental responsibility for those things, it's overwhelming. And people
Yeah.
often
Yeah.
go to that point and they get tapped out and they're like, well, I got so much wrong with me. Like I'm just broken. And then the old narratives pick up. So what I
Right.
tell everybody, and like the rule of thumb over here is just like, all right, it's just 1% change. What's the one thing you want to work on?
Yeah.
Because so many like problems and stress that we create are all self-perpetuating because we have poor eating habits, poor
Yeah.
sleep hygiene, poor nutrition, and like we don't exercise and we're not moving our bodies.
Yeah.
We're not training our body to tell our brain that we can do hard things. And if you just
Yeah.
leave it up to the brain to learn how to do hard things, it's never going to do that. It wants to take the path of least resistance over and over and over again. So that's what I do nowadays is I run a consulting firm, I run a scientific advising company, and I run a media company that are all centered and circled around teaching self-regulation, stress management, and executive skill sets to the different facets of people in life. Whether you're in business and you just want to shape the way that your executives or your executive function is working, or you're a single mom trying to figure out how to not be as burnt out on a Friday night, all of that is broken down into you understanding your nervous system. And that's what I do today. And there's not a day that goes by that I don't absolutely love it.
I have so many questions.
I'm ready. Let her rip.
Okay.
Let's do it.
I'm like, okay, you went from this rock bottom place and you said something like this narrative was kind of in your brain and you put it somewhere else in your brain. And that was the thing that changed everything, right? So I want to unpack that a little bit just to understand that more. And then, this is the world that you live in. So it makes total sense that you're like, and I'm like, whoa. What does this mean? What is
slow down.
Even just like, for the general public, what is the nervous system? What do you mean by self-regulation? Like some of these really big, cornerstones of what you do, it's like, help me understand all of that more and what you mean by that. So can we start to unpack some of that?
Yeah, of course. I'd love nothing more.
Awesome.
So your nervous system acts as a translator. So it's a translator of experience into something that's digestible for you. So every moment of every second from the moment that you are conceived until the moment that you expire, we need something to help us understand what's going on. And this, can get into a whole conversation of like, all right, you're a soul in a meat suit and the meat suit has to like translate the experience for the soul to understand, but the soul understands everything. It's the lost in translation between this 3-dimensional experience and something beyond that is going to require 4 or 5 more pots of coffee for us to really dive into. So just for the sake of conversation today, let's say that the nervous system in and of itself is just here as a translator. And sometimes that translator makes mistakes. And sometimes that translator translates something that was said sarcastically as a threat because it's picking up different forms of language and trying to put them all into something that's familiar and digestible to you as the person running and operating the meat suit. So your nervous system has 3 basic big parts to it. We have a central nervous system, which is the brain, spinal cord, and a small part of the eyes. We have a peripheral nervous system, which is most of things outside of the brain and spinal cord that goes to muscles, limbs. And then we have an enteric nervous system, which runs kind of like the gut and the viscera and everything else inside of that. And then there's connecting pieces to that as well, which, you've heard of polyvagal theory and the autonomic nervous system and sympathetic versus non-sympathetic and task on versus task off and all those different networks. And all of this is going to be on a quiz at the end. So make sure
I was
that
going to
you're
say,
make sure you're taking notes
I
on this
actually
stuff.
haven't heard of all of those things, Chris.
We'll get there. We'll get there if we need to.
So it's complicated. It's complicated, and this is why I love you, because you boil it down, right? So when we talk about, it's so interesting too, you said the nervous system, is it the nervous system that's informing the brain or the brain informing the nervous system? Like, is it the emotions informing the thoughts or the thoughts informing the emotions? Or is it the body, dictating the thoughts or the thoughts dictating the body? Like, this is one of the loops that I get stuck in with.
Yeah.
I'm
and
like,
so the answer to
which
that
one
is,
comes first?
it depends on the day and it depends on what you're doing and how you're doing it. So when we get into, there's not one that leads, one is not the horse and one is not the cart. It completely depends on that. And it's it's person to person dependent, right? Because what really regulates me, that gets me in my body and cozy and feeling safe, might be something that completely dysregulates you, right? So for like me to go do that, what gets me really in my body, which is what I'm going to do after this, is I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to go lift heavy things and have loud music playing in the background and hang out with my friends for 45 minutes, beat the crap out of each other. And then we're going to go out in the parking lot, give them an attaboy, and then we're going to go home to our families. And like, we're all going to be co-regulating, which is you sharing like camaraderie and community and connection and having fun and play, because that's what the nervous system thrives on, is play and fun. And we don't prioritize that. We prioritize executive function and make money and hustle and grind. And that's because we
Yes.
live through stress, not through opportunity. Opportunity doesn't need to be confined and defined into something that fits the narrative. It just shows up at opportune times for us to execute. Which again is like such a fuzzy thing. So let me like kind of explain a little bit more of why
Yeah, yeah.
I have a job and I wish I didn't. I think everything that myself and other people in the mental health world would say is that it could all be fixed. It would all be cured if we cared more about each other and spent more time in community and less time against it. Like if we got rid of phones, if there was like an
Yeah.
EMP bomb that went boom, or like we have a solar flare, like me and the other neuroscience nerds are like, honestly, like society, a version of society is going to collapse or whatever the heck it is, but like we're going to be more interconnected than ever.
Right.
And like
Right.
that's just kind of like the version of where we're at right now is like we're
Yeah.
so disjointed, disconnected,
Yeah.
dissociated, and overstimulated, underappreciated that it's hard for us to kind of get into this regulated state. So learning about the brain and the nervous system for my people that are out there doing service-based information or running these companies and these corporations, they have recognized how valuable it is to understand how to get themselves into specific states, whether that is
Yeah.
regulation, whether that is dysregulation, whether that is creativity, whether that's drive, passion, being inspirational. They understand that they want to be able to pull the lever and get
Yeah.
and access that state at will, which is readily available to each and every one of us, right? So like before we got on, I sent you a message like, hey, had a busy day, but I'm going to make a cup of coffee. I'm going to take some breaths. And that's exactly what I did. And my nervous
Yeah.
system goes, oh, I know what to do. We sit down, we're safe with Moira. We're going to have an amazing conversation, have your coffee, sit and chill. And I'm super grounded and I'm super here so that I can
Yeah.
hopefully share valuable information with people that are listening and have a good connection with you. If you and
Yeah.
I
So
did this
there's
every
this,
day, go ahead.
yeah, I was going to say, so there's this intention there, right? There's a shift. I really love the actual visual because, you know, we operate in the world of personal growth. We hear a lot about kind of the pause and the shift and the intention setting, but I really love the like, okay, like the visual of like I'm pulling this lever and this lever and this lever
Yeah.
to transition. I mean,
Yeah.
that's really powerful to me because what that does for me is like there's an action involved. It's not just a mental thought. There's some
Correct.
type of, you know, action that I'm actually taking. So talk to me though about your, you know, there's obviously levers to pull, right? For
Mm-hmm.
different states that we want to get into. Tell me what the levers are. How do we do this?
The
Like, what do you,
levers,
I
yeah.
want to give me the nuts and bolts of like
Yeah.
what you're explaining to people about their nervous system and their brain that they need to, because people do need to kind of grasp some part of this before
Yeah.
otherwise the action is, you know, it doesn't matter. They're not going to be motivated to do it. So bring us through that.
So I think the most important thing, most people want to get to a level where they can refine. And most people start in refinement before they even have the basics mastered. And
Yeah.
what I recommend everybody do is if you want to talk refinement and you want to do like trauma work, if you want to do like cognitive work, if you want to play like executive function refinement, where we can start doing risk analysis and we can start to talk through, all right, how do we do socioeconomic ploys? How do we create company culture? How do you create inspiration? Or how do you think through this differently? Or how do you reprioritize Q4 so that it looks more like Q2 because Q3 is in the middle of summer and you sell a product? Like if you want to play at that level, you have to master the basics, which
Yeah.
the base platform that I tell everybody is self-regulation: sleep, diet, exercise, and the daily habits that you go through. Most people
Yeah.
are horrendous sleepers. Most people are
Yeah.
eating really poorly, and most people aren't going outside and being active. So I
Yeah.
know that you and I both share a passion for physical fitness, and we are both fit
Yeah.
individuals, and it reflects in how we show up. People don't look at us and go
Yes.
like, I bet you eat pizza every day. Looking like, oh, you're fit. Like, and you take
Yeah.
care of yourself. And it's a version of self-care that we are training people how to perceive us based on how we take care of our bodies as well. So
Right.
a huge part of this is just creating like people treat you based on how you treat you.
Yeah.
And those
Yeah.
habits really show up. So sleep, diet, exercise, like the habit care formation thing, that's also what, staves off neurodegenerative disorders. So getting good sleep, 8 hours. I used to recommend a certain biometric device, and I no
Hmm.
longer do that because they recently paired up with the US government and they sold off all their biometric data. So I'm trying to find an
Oh,
alternative for people to
wow.
use different data
Yeah.
for biometrics because I don't subscribe to having our
Yeah.
personal health data outsourced like that. So
No, not at
the moment
all.
that I
But I
do find
do.
something, I will let everybody know.
Yeah, because they are so motivating. I can tell you that
Yes.
like I've worn all kinds of different ones, and every time I get a new one, I mean, it really shifts my motivation and my action, and like I'm so much more intentional about getting to
Yeah.
bed at a decent hour. And I mean, they can make you a little crazy if you're not careful, but they can also
Right.
be super impactful. So going beyond the basics, because I do granted, I need everybody to hear what you just said, the basics, 8 hours of sleep, right? Like proper exercise, sunlight, good nutrition, because we can go, okay, what about what's next?
Yep.
But don't forget the basics, because if you don't have the basics, you can't do the next. But
Correct. And everybody
what
falls
does
flat on
come
that.
next?
So
Yeah,
what comes next
yeah.
after that is mental frameworks. We used to call this mindset, and you can still call it mindset, but it's your ability to change the way that you process information. It has to do with learning, has to do with certainty and predictability. So once we get on or beyond like routines and habits, and your system kind of knows that it can stretch mentally and emotionally, cognitively during the day because it is going to get adequate rest. This is where we start to play into the mental world. And the mental world is extremely important for this modern world because right now, most people are outsourcing their critical thinking. And that's like the
Yeah.
saddest thing ever. In our house, my daughter is 8, and the most important thing in our house is imagination. And we let
Absolutely.
imagination run wild. So she's homeschooled now. She has to read 2 chapter books per week. And then we have a curriculum that I set up for her so that it's just very rooted in not science, not math, not language arts, in creativity,
Yeah.
in art, in
Yeah.
passion, in nature, in socialization, in, hey, do you know how to go do some of those things? Because this modern world is creating more same paintbrush stroke thinkers. Like everybody
Right.
thinks that they're being creative, but nobody wants to put their original idea out there out of fear of being criticized. Or even
Yeah.
worse, especially in the scientific community, because everyone has 10-second AI access to the smartest thing out there based on facts. You share an idea, and then it's like, oh, well, let me just go check this thing really quick. And then they go like, well, ChatGPT said that like you're an idiot, and that's actually not true and accurate. And then you're like, well, yeah, okay, cool. And then we just are
Yeah.
sacrificing our ability to like have debate, and we're giving
Right.
it to something that just sees something without emotion, without passion.
Right.
And those are the
Yeah.
things that really turn. So when it moves to imagination and creativity, and like, if you're just getting started and you're like, I want to scale up like a 7 or 8 figure business, and then you're like, well, how does imagination play into this at all? Let me like give you the most profound example that I possibly can. I was working with a company, and they were doing around $100,000 a month. And it was okay. And they were doing, whatever, but they were also like not making a ton of net profit on the back end of that. Like maybe
Yeah.
20,000 was kind of going to the owners, which 20,000 a month is not a bad way to live in the slightest. That's awesome. That's fantastic. That's
Yeah.
great. But they had higher ambitions. So they hire me as a coach, and we kind of go in and we start to talk, okay, let's talk about systems and processing and this. Let's talk about like imagination. Let's talk about goals. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about that. And I walk them through this framework, and we don't touch anything in their business, right? We just kind of help them better understand where there might be roadblocks and kind of where they get stuck. And what I'm doing is trying to show them where they have mental and emotional blind spots. And eventually we kind of get to this point and they're going like, oh my gosh, I am sabotaging this thing over here or whatever it is, because
Yeah.
this zone, this amount of money that I'm making is actually the thing that's keeping me safe because it's familiar. This is like the max amount of money that I know how to manage. And this is the max amount of this because I don't know if our relationship would survive, because it's a husband and wife team. Like, I don't know if our relationship would survive if we did more than that. So then we worked
Yeah.
on that problem. And then once that problem was able to be seen, heard, validated, and integrated, the next month they did 40. And then the month after
Wow.
that, they did 70. And then I think they're probably doing 8, probably maybe 9 figures if they haven't sold at this point, because they got themselves out of the
Yeah.
way, right? And you
Yeah.
can't get
Yeah.
yourself out of the way. There's that Einstein quote, you can't fix the problem at the same level of consciousness that it was created. That's why
Right.
imagination is so important, because to get from point A
Mm.
to point B is logic, but to get from point A to point Z is going to require a little bit
Yeah.
of like turbulence, a little bit of navigation. And it's going to be at times stressful, but something can be stressful and not dysregulating. And that's a huge chunk of the story that most people in business and life have to realize is, wait, I'm not dissociated. I'm not anxious. I'm not depressed. I don't have to throw a label on this. Today was just stressful. I was
Yeah.
overstimulated. The kid was screaming
Right.
like a pterodactyl for 6 hours, or I went to the grocery store to go get this and it ended up taking 2 extra hours because the whatever. Okay, hold on. It was a stressful day. That was a
Right.
stressful day. You had one
Yeah.
stressful day. Great. You share that. You have people in your life, therapist, coach, husband, wife. Today, really, really blue. I need you to rub my neck, play with my hair, tell me I'm pretty, whatever the things are, those are mine, right? And it's like everything's going to be okay on the back end of that. And then what you need to do and really learn is how to let go of today so that there's more space for tomorrow. Most people
Yeah.
are carrying not just from yesterday, but like last week, 6 years ago, 6 months. Like it's
Yeah.
just, we
Yeah.
always carry the burdens of unintegrated experiences. And that clouds our judgment because, like we talked about at the start, we process information based on our state of regulation. State determines story, determines strategy for how we live our life. So if we reverse that and look at the strategy based on the story, it tells us what state of regulation that we're in. And then we can start to work on what environment is dictating. Because if you're not controlling the state, then whatever environment you're in is dictating how you're experiencing that thing. And we just need to re-experience it. We need to create a new opportunity for us to, okay, I got to go to work and this work is super triggering because of my boss. Perfect. Good to know. Let's work on that now, right? What is
Yeah.
triggering
Yeah.
about it and how can we change that narrative?
So good, so good, so good. So can we go in the direction of like, kind of going back to a little bit to what we were talking about before, but personal to you, but personal to when you're working with clients.
Yeah.
When you're teaching them the levers to get into different states, is it different for every single person, or is it pretty much, are there lots of similarities? I mean, I know everybody is different, but at the same time, I'm sure there's some generalities of like, doing certain things, or like one of the things you touched on, which I loved. And when you talked about like going to the gym and that human connection, and, for you, it's the music and the physical workout and all of that, and how we're missing out on fun, right? Like that, so many people just think that that's like over here, in left field. And it's like, no, the life you want to create is dependent on this thing that you're putting on the back burner constantly. So can we talk about kind of those types of things in regards to self-regulation?
100%. So these would be what we kind of like chop up as transitional behaviors. So I get brought into like HR companies a lot, and they bring me in because like mental health, like we're all struggling with anxiety and this and that. And we want, the thing I hear most is like, I need more balance. And I'm like, I think you need less balance. I think you are like so balanced right now that like you're walking on eggshells and you're so afraid that if you get disjointed, and it's like, life is not, for me, right? Life is not meant to be balanced. Life is meant to be seasonal. It does not mean in the midst of one day that you're yo-yoing up and down and up and down. Like, it's the same thing with relationships, right? Relationships are going to have ups and relationships are going to have downs. If like in a season of life, you have a couple days, maybe in a couple weeks where it's like up, down, okay. But if the general pattern of the relationship is trajectory up, great. If you zoom in on anything though, it's going to look turbulent. So a part of these like transitional behaviors that we talk about is boundaries instead of balance. So how do we create boundaries instead of balance? One of the boundaries instead of balance conversations that I like to have is this little black box of greatness that we call our cell phone. Do you have boundaries with that thing? Like I open up my phone and I did this for a bunch of high schoolers today, and I showed them, I'm like, this is a picture of me and my daughter underneath a rainbow, but like, do you see notifications? And then I asked like one of the students, I'm like, pull your phone up. And they opened their phone and they had like 72 notifications, like 60 from Instagram. And I'm like, that thing is draining your attention span, draining your ability to focus. And if you're doing this before bed, it's inhibiting your ability to focus and have critical thought tomorrow. So one of those things that's super functional is just stimulation boundaries, right?
Yeah.
So I had to go out and I did a lot of peopling today. I talked to a few hundred students, and then afterwards we did like a 30-minute Q&A and a panel and then a workshop, and then I'm back here. And now I'm Janet, and this is like my like regulation, like downtime now. Thanks again for that.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
You're welcome.
In between each and every one of those, I have 15 to 20 minutes where I'm either in my car driving to the next meeting, and there's time and space for me to completely go low stimulation.
Right.
So when I'm driving in the car, I'm like either listening to like a book, like the Red Rising series, which has like absolutely nothing to do with science and business and anything else that I'm doing. It's just a novel. And I like, it's great and fantastic. Or I'm just driving with the windows down and no music. And I'm giving my nervous system the chance to just enjoy being bored and slowing the fuck down and actually just taking a breath of air. Because in this modern world, we used to have TV breaks, radio interruptions, commercials. Like we used to have all of these things. And now everything's just go, 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 stimulate, never stop, never breathe. Don't watch a sunset. Don't do this. Like don't make a cup of tea, like any of those things. So a lot of it has to do with stimulation. Another one of those just has to do with, okay, today, am I regulated? Am I dysregulated? Like, what is my tolerance for people right now? Because people are
different every day, right? I mean, you kind of wake up and you have like a different gas tank a little bit every day. I mean, generally speaking, you have the same gas tank, but like depending, like you said, on your sleep, on your exercise, on the day before, on just the events of your life. Do you want to know how crazy
I am with this stuff? Is like, now I have like 2 weeks left on these things, but I'm wearing Invisaligns. So when I have these things in, I can feel like when I put them in at nighttime, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to get as good a sleep because these things are like literally shifting the way that like my teeth, which are connected to a bunch of neurons, are going to be. And it's uncomfortable. And it's uncomfortable for like 24, 48 hours. So I put in my new set tonight before I go to bed, but tomorrow I have no workshops, I have no client sessions because I full tilt know my availability to do creative thinking, to do content creation and everything else like that is so much less available. If I do backstack my Wednesday tomorrow, then what's going to happen is I'm going to be even less available on Thursday. And it'll be even less available on Friday. When you steal from tomorrow to meet today's needs over time, you're guaranteeing burnout. That's really what it is. So I know that.
Gosh.
So know better, do better.
I love that. I love that. And I remember us talking a long time ago about really the capacity that we actually have in like the morning hours or in a day. What does that look like when you try to teach people like your actual capacity to be creative or to be focused or to be attentive? What does that look like, and where should we be breaking and kind of coming back into it?
Yeah. So this is one of those things where most people optimized. You have about 4 hours of like what Cal Newport, who's the gentleman who did the research on this, he's out of MIT, would say you have about 4 hours of creative associative work, where this is where you perform the single task that you can just crush, right? Yeah. So for me, I told you as soon as we got on, I told you like I do 2 to 3 things because I can't get 4 hours. I can get 3 on a good day. And then up and beyond that, I'm just tapped out. And I know that about me, right? So like every day, do I work for 5-6 hours? Yeah, I do. But then a lot of the other things are just outsourced at this point. And then the other stuff that I do that makes me most valuable is reading books and like playing with ideas, but like that's not like associative, like action oriented. It's just information integration. So most people have the highest propensity to do good work when they first wake up in the morning. And most of us burn that out not having a morning routine. We're just getting up and we're kind of like reactive. The alarm goes off at 6:30. We snooze it till 7. Got to get the kids, got to get in the car at 6:30, cup of coffee, throw this, and there's little to no intentionality about it. Or we wake up and we immediately go to our phones. And like you and I had talked about, one of the new things that are coming out is the pace at which you consume and how you consume information dictates the pace at which you live your life. So if you're constantly consuming a ton of information in the morning and you're scrolling and going through different subjects, your brain goes, oh, this is the pace that we live our life. We're going through every 7 seconds and go, 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 go. And there is no space for presence. There is no space for connection. And then we're always out of time, rushing to be busy to the next thing that's actually not a priority, right? And this is how people take on so much. And we eventually get to the point where like, oh, I hire someone like Chris and it's like, okay, or hire somebody like you and it's like, okay, are you actually focusing on like what's important in your life right now?
Right.
Like
right.
I told you, like the most important thing to me right now is my family. Like my daughter's getting to a point where she's going to be a teenager in like 3-4 years. And it's like, I'm not going to be like this version with her ever again. And you never get that time back. So I'm okay not, stacking up another 7-figure business next to what I'm doing because I want to be dad to an 8-year-old because I'm not going to ever get that time back. So that's what the priority is. And my schedule and my finances and everything else shows that that's the priority.
Yeah, I love that so much. I mean, let's go back to that morning routine because, I'm like a tried and true morning routine girl. I just, I can't. I just don't even understand. Like, it was probably a decade ago where I really implemented this. And I just remember being like, I mean, the 180-degree change my life took from that. It would like leave me in shock that, people would allow like their kids to kind of wake them up in the morning and like their kids getting up would be like their alarm to get up and, get breakfast and do this and do that. I'm like, how is that even possible? Like I would lose my mind. And so I always say that it doesn't matter what the routine is, meaning your routine that works for you might not work for me. Like there's not a magic morning routine that's going to fit everybody, but I want to know what you do for yourself and what you suggest kind of some of those nuts and bolts are that would apply across the board.
100%. So, like you said, the biggest thing I want everybody to know is that there is no magic bullet for this except the one that you make. And every season is going to have different tools. So what I say, it might not absolutely work for you. So before you build routines, think with the end in mind. What is it that you want to experience in the morning? Do you want to be more at peace? Like, do you want to wake up and like read? Do you want to wake up and like connect with your partner? Like, do you want to like jump each other's bones in the morning? Cause that's the only time that you guys have before the kids get up. And like, it's funny, but like you've got kids, like trying to find time for intimacy is just wicked. If you don't make time for it, like, does it have to be in the schedule? Well, how important is it? Like do you want that in there? Like you guys need to like jump each other's bones. Like, so you have to think with the end in mind. What is that experience that you want? And then once you kind of figure out, okay, in the morning time, I just don't have time to be creative. Like for moms and dads that are out there, like they're like, I want to paint. Stay at home moms, like they don't have time for themselves. So like, do you have time to paint? Do you have time to write poetry? Do you have time to do something just for you? And can you do that in the morning time? Even if that morning time is like doing whatever, because right now my morning routine is to wake up. I have a sauna in my garage. I go in the sauna for 45 minutes and I'm legitimately, as shit you not, I'm just reading a bunch of poetry right now.
Wow.
Because that's just what my system wants. Because I'm so analytical the rest of the time. Like I can't even show you like my windowsill over here. I was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. That was a journal. I have 14 books that I'm currently reading right now. All of them neuroscience journals and all of them highlighted and annotated. So in the morning time, I want to start off with poetry and like I'm a romantic. So like those are things that like make me a version of me that's fun and playful. And then I'm hot and I'm sweaty. So I come in and make coffee around 7 o'clock ish. And then I drink an entire water bottle because your body gets dehydrated when you're sleeping. So like, I don't care if you're putting lemon in your water, but like make sure it's got some salt or something in it so you're getting a little bit hydrated, because I just went and did a nasty sweat in the sauna. Then I do mobility because I lift heavy shit at the end of the day. So in the morning time, I want to make sure that I can lift heavy shit all day. So bust off the cobwebs. I drink cacao. It's not ceremonial cacao. It's not anything to do with the whatever. It's cacao that Amazon sends me that's cold pressed and organic because I just like it. And it's got a lot of polyphenols and I don't want gray hair. And I like the taste of it. So I'll drink that. And then for the most part, I'm like making breakfast for my tiny and I'm reading books
Yeah.
or I'm doing like maybe 20, 30 minutes of emails, but it totally depends on the day. So today
Yeah.
I woke up and I was like, all right, I have an in-person keynote, I have an in-person workshop, and I have this and I've got administrative tasks. So I'm like, okay, perfect. I know that by the second workshop, I'm going to need food and I don't want
Yep.
to over caffeinate, overstimulate. So this is like my first cup of coffee of the day that I'm having right now because I get so
Yeah.
wound up
Yeah.
hanging out
For
with
sure.
people that I'm like, I don't need another cup of coffee going to talk to a bunch of high schoolers. Like I'm like prepped and ready to go. So it's just creating that type of routine. And then it was like, okay, I need to go over my notes. I need to go over my slide deck. And then up and beyond that, my tiny human is not with me right now. She's with her mom. So I have more availability. So I went for a walk.
Yeah.
Oh crap, it's raining. Instead of a walk in my garage, I've got like an assault bike. So I rode the bike for a minute. And then,
Yeah.
okay, I read my poetry and like I did my things. And then I wrote in my journal because that's a huge thing for me because I am a language and a verbal processor. Some people are an experience based processor, or they're an individual processor, or they're a nature based processor and integrator. All of that just means like, how do you make sense of shit intentionally? If I
Right.
don't slow the fuck down and like write things out, the speed at which I think will surpass my ability to regulate through it. So if I let my thoughts run away like a runaway train, it is surely going to crash and I will surely crash and burn with it. And then I
Yeah.
get burnt out and exhausted. So I make sure that those processes are set up. But before I go to bed, I know what time I'm waking up and what I'm
Right.
doing the next day. I'm not
Yeah.
worried about that. I'm not concerned about it. And then every Sunday, I'm looking at the schedule because this week I'm supposed to be going up to New York and then back for a travel schedule because I have a crazy travel schedule in my life right now. So I'm like, okay, Tiny's going to be with her mom for the long weekend. I'm going to travel, then come back, make sure that groceries are set up and do this, talk to my assistant, talk to my team. I've got 4 companies over here. I got one in Indonesia. And it's like, people look at that and they're like, that's got to be so crazy. And I'm like, no, it's just,
Yeah. It's
it's
manageable.
intentionally created.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not, I don't even have to
Right.
manage it. It just is done because I created a life that I don't have to like run from. And I don't feel like I'm like ever out of time, or I don't feel like I'm ever like
Yeah.
stretched too thin. Well, that's not true. That's not true. I feel like that. If I'm being completely honest, I
Yeah.
feel like that a lot. And it's just like
Yeah.
whenever I do that though, it's just the calibration of like, oh, I know why. Because I
Yeah.
woke up and things just went uncertain. Because like my life is not
Mm-hmm.
perfect by any means. Like shit hits the ceiling all the time. So that like
Right.
recalibration point of like, oh, today I know after this I'm gonna go hit the gym and then I'm just gonna go watch the sunset because I'm like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
hot and
And
it's
you're
sweaty
gonna,
and it's gross.
yeah.
Yeah, and then
And
you
you're going to come
offload.
down and fill that cup versus what most people would do is sit on Instagram, TikTok, swipe, 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 consume, 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 just kind of assaulting their brain with more information. And it's like, that's that down regulation that you're talking about that's so needed for literally, I feel like everybody, that we just do not take enough time. I mean, even in the car, I don't even like the radio on that much because I'm like, I just need silence. I just need
Yeah, I'm
silence, you know?
the same
It's
way. We
like,
don't get it anymore. Our
yeah,
kids don't get it
yeah,
anymore. We're constantly
yeah,
stimulated.
yeah.
To what end?
I
For
know.
what reason?
It's crazy. It's crazy. Gosh, I could talk to you for hours, literally hours and hours
We're
and
gonna
hours.
have to do that thing that we keep talking about that we're gonna have to do.
We're
just
gonna
do
do
it.
that thing. We're gonna do something
do
in
that thing.
Charleston. We're gonna do an event. We're gonna get together. We're gonna fill the room. It's gonna be awesome. So that's gonna be coming. But where can people find you, Chris? Where can people find you, information to possibly like work with you or read more about like all these tools and tips and processes, and how do they find out more?
Everything's Dr. Chris Lee on Instagram, website, wherever. And right now, we're in the process. We just yesterday got the green light to get social help. So I'm writing a book. And
Oh,
yeah, my editor is like, hey, let's get some info on your audience. Like, where do they want help? Because we're writing a book
yeah.
on dopamine. And we're writing like a real book on
Oh,
not dopamine detox, but like, all right, how does this thing
yeah.
actually work? How do you get your feet back in the grass? So if anybody wants to like participate in it, we're bringing on like a couple handful of people and their stories and their
Wow.
narratives and taking it to the book. So if anybody wants to be
Oh my
involved in that,
gosh.
it'll get published in hopefully next year, depending on all those good things. So if anybody's interested in helping
That's
out with that too,
exciting.
we got forms and stuff that you can do that.
Yeah, I'll link all of that in the show notes so it's easy
Yeah.
access for everybody. That's fascinating and so exciting. And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, who wouldn't want to be involved in that? I want to be involved in that. That's so fun. I love that.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
gosh, thank you for your time. I absolutely adore you as a friend, as a colleague, all the things.
Likewise.
And I love working with you. And we are going to do something together. So be on the
We
lookout.
are. We'll do it
for
by the
an
end of the year
event.
too. We'll put it out
Yeah,
there. We're going to
yeah,
say
yeah.
we'll do it by the end of the year. We'll get people prepped
Yep.
and ready for the holidays or something like that.
Yes, absolutely. I would love it. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Chris. You guys, if you're listening to this podcast, share it with your friends, share it with your colleagues, share it with your company, because this is such incredible information that just everybody needs to hear. I mean, it's just the crazy pace of the world that we live in right now is like, this is exactly like you said, this is why you have a job and it's not going anywhere.
Yeah, not in the near
So,
future.
Yes. Thank you so much, Chris. Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
And we will see you guys next time. Thanks again, Chris.
Sounds good. See y'all.